Hey guys, it's Dave. Today I just exited one of my trade positions, Coherent Corp, COHR. I'm going to go over that trade review, basically from entry to exit, and of course how I managed it. On Trade Ideas per usual, these are my current positions, just minus Coherent. So now I'm only in Court, which is having a nice 6% day move today, and then VRT. I'm just letting that one kind of grind. All right, so let's get to it. Court, you can see single stock window here, I should say. Quarterly revenue growth, 8.74%. Cash debt ratio isn't the best. So this is not a name that fits my longer term hold criteria, but it is a name that fit my shorter term swing criteria. Another thing, short float was 4.46%. I don't know what it was when it first entered. I don't recall it being anything significant or too crazy, but I don't really care. All right, so looking at the overall look, you can see that this 80, 50 level provided resistance 1-2 times, right? It came down, sold off, found support at this line here. That's the 200 SMA, right? The yellow line is the 50 SMA. The white line is the 10 EMA, blue line is 20 EMA, red line is the 5 EMA. So I can even zoom out even further here. You can see that the general trend, so there's a huge, I don't know what happened here, to be honest with you. I don't know if it literally gapped down. I'm not sure. I don't really care. Either way, you can see that the general term since 2023 is upwards, right? So the longer term trend is still up. Even though it kind of had this sideways action here, but you can tell by the EMAs and the SMAs, the MAs, basically. Okay, so what I liked about this, number one, there's this support area here about 5110. You can see it kind of ranged and consolidated around that and 68. So it ranged around here. It broke out of that range, found supply at this level, came all the way back down. It got smacked pretty good, a decent percentage down, found support at the still inclining, rising 200 SMA, and then made a nice move higher and came back down to find support at this level right here where it broke out at. So this right here was a look above this range and fail. So it came back into this range, traded all the way at the opposite end of the range, failed to find more sellers for further downside, and then moved all the way back up to the opposite side of the range, broke out of it again, and then finally found support at that range breakout of 68.60 to 52.50, let's just call it. Okay, so that's how I was looking at it. And then once it started to move around this level here, this 80.50 level, I'll just call it 90 even, whatever. This level here, you can see it resisted here and here, right? So I wasn't paying attention. I didn't see this name probably up until actually this move happened. All of this that I just went through has been in hindsight. However, it set up for what I liked about the trade. And so what I liked about the trade is everything that I just said with the ranging, the overall term trend is upwards, the MAs are upwards. And then this thing just continues to break out of these ranges. So zooming in a little bit, here we go. 1 resistance, 2 resistance, pulled back. It created another higher low, okay? And then it broke out of that range relatively strongly. And look at the volume, okay? There's a nice volume increase, so there's acceptance here. And so it broke out nicely, okay? Had a nice price correction back to the 10 EMA. So that's my setup here. It is a breakout with a 10 EMA price correction. And then rules are for me, I enter around here for this trade setup. I enter around the 10 EMA. I let price continue to grind up. And if it wants to close below the 10 EMA, or sometimes the 20 EMA, depending on how volatile the market is, the 20 EMA, I think I said that, depending on how volatile the market is, I'll close below those. either way, if it closes below the 20 EMA, just like my other trade that I reviewed yesterday, I'm out. It doesn't even matter. You can always get back in, right? So that's the premise of the setup. Now, how did I do it? I'll go over the details here. So looking at here, again, this was the level. Let me create a little line for you, resistance, so it's easier to see. So that was a level break, okay? Came up. It was the very first time. This white line is the 10 EMA, the blue line is the 20 EMA, this red line is the 5 SMA. So this was the first time it had a price correction back to the 10 EMA. So this is the first time it touched the 10 EMA after it broke out here. So as it did that, I like to look at the 30-minute time frame to kind of gauge. So the daily gives me the overall view. The 30-minute time frame gives me a smaller view to get me prepped for entry. And so I like to look at the chart and the bars of what they're doing on that time frame there to prep me for a potential entry. And so what happened? It pulled back, okay, to the 10 EMA. It broke this little downtrend line here, consolidated for 1-2 days. You can consider it 3 if you like to. Either way, it created this kind of balanced zone of 91, call it, to 87.50, call it, okay? So it kind of price found acceptance in this area. You can see the value building here, okay? I entered here on this white line. So entry wise, if I zoom in on the 5-minute, that's my entry. Sometimes I'll look at the 2-minute. Either way. So entry wise, we can see that I was looking here. It set a low here during the day. Here we go. So in the morning, it gapped up, hit this blue line, which is the anchor VWAP from that high of the initial run. So it's the high before this pullback, the first pullback to the 10 EMA. So it found resistance at that, and then it pulled right back to come down and retest this 87.30 area. It failed to go lower after breaking that low, right? So it was a little quote unquote stop run. Okay. If there were more supply to be had, those stops would have provided that supply. Stops were hit. Nothing occurred. Let's see. I wonder if it broke that right there as well. 87.27. Yeah, so it broke the lows technically by was that 8 cents of these past 2 days, and nothing else came out. That's how I'm viewing this, right? And so then it chopped around. This red line here is the VWAP for that day of my entry day. So I always like to enter when price is over VWAP. And so it came down, failed to break lower, come back, stronger move off the lows, higher high set here versus that, higher low set here versus that, higher low technically here, right? So it just kind of consolidated. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to enter this trade. It pulled back the 10 EMA. It's respected it for about 2 days now. It's setting in a range on a shorter time frame of a couple days. I'm going to enter. The setup is there. I'm going to pull the trigger. And so I entered at the end of the day here at 88.99. Okay. Didn't mean to do that, but it's kind of cool how I ended up that way. And I'm like, if this trade setup fails, that means it has to break the lows of today, which would require it to provide more supply than it even had these past prior 2 days when it already broke the low of today. So the stop was against the low of today. I even gave it a little bit. I gave it an extra 19 cents. And you can see the next day it tried to push down lower, failed to move lower, and just continue to rip since then. So I had a really nice entry on this one. I got lucky. It's random, right? This could have just as easily went down and stopped me out, but it didn't. That's the risk that we take. We have a process, we analyze, we think through these things, and we try and find patterns. At least that's how I see it. And so just taking these concepts, it gave me a really nice entry. I wouldn't have wanted to have entered another day. Maybe I would have entered the following day here as it broke through that anchored VWAP. from that prior high and then retested it, maybe I would have entered there because that is technically a pullback setup that I have. But I prefer to get as close as to the 10 EMA or like the bottom of the consolidation as I can. And so I had a really nice entry here, and you can see it just continued to move higher. And then I'm going to go back to the 30-minute. As it continued to move higher, it broke these highs. This red line was an anchor VWAP from the breakout, basically. I was holding from here, and then it broke out those highs there, anchored that VWAP, wanted to see if people were staying in control. The buyers were in control. I used anchored VWAPs to kind of gauge where people are at in the market and help manage my trade. And so once it got back over that breakout VWAP, just after one day of kind of rest, it respected it 1-2 times. You can call this 3 times. It undercut it, but then reclaimed it. And so here, this was on Tuesday, October 15th of this week. It kind of pulled back down to the 10 EMA and then got bought up, consolidated, nice, I won't call it a B profile. Either way, a couple of days of value here. Yesterday, it gapped up and just continued to sell off. So what I did is I moved my stop loss up, not necessarily just under this, because I don't want to move it over the 10 EMA. Because of situations of where it can just whip me out and then get bought right back up. So I wanted to give it a little bit of cushion. So I think I moved the stop loss probably to just below the 10 EMA. And then unfortunately with today's gap down, I was stopped, not unfortunately, but it's unfortunate that the stock gapped down instead of just gapping up and running. That's unfortunate, but either way, I moved my stop loss up just below the 10 EMA. And with the gap down today, it sent an auto trigger to sell. So I nearly sold at the lows of today. But it is what it is. It was a nice trade, a 3.92 R gain. I'm not mad about it. I'm not trying to swing for home runs. These are the nice small wins that are going to help me become and stay a consistent and profitable trader. Hopefully that makes sense. Hopefully these reviews are helpful. Again, it's another way for me to review myself to get another, didn't mean to do that, just get another layer of learning in, another layer of repetition. And it's been working out nicely so far. So if you guys like this, if you enjoy it, share, like, review, study, put in the work, because once you start seeing the results, it feels so freaking good. Oh, look at this. Gapped right down, found support at the anchor VWAP from that prior high. That's technically a setup I have in my playbook too. Either way, so yeah, put in the work. It's worth it once you learn to find your own way. I have learned by taking concepts from other traders, a lot from Brian Shannon in his anchor VWAP and his MAs of how he uses it, and then a lot from our trading community that I absolutely love. I'll never leave them. So yeah, hope if it's helpful, share, like, review, all that good stuff. Say hi, ask questions, come join us in our community. We got a great one over there. We have ideas like this all the time being shared. A couple of us create videos now, which is awesome. So it's a good thing. All right. Thanks for your time. I hope you enjoy your weekend wherever